Okay, you're live. Excuse me. I don't like making videos on Mondays all that much, and I especially don't like making 2 videos in a row, especially when I just made a long one that nobody's watched yet. But this should be a pretty straightforward unboxing video, so might as well get it over with, I guess, and instead of waiting for tomorrow. And of course, before we do the actual unboxing, I have to go through the whole spiel of the comparisons and everything. So if you really only want to see the new hats, then scroll ahead. You'll see me holding the box or whatever, and you'll know where we are. And I have 2 packing slips so I can try and keep the names of all the hats straight because I had it ordered 5, not all the exact same hat. And so if you go and watch my video on, 1 second, let me go to the playlist. If you go to the headwear playlist, as opposed to some of the other ones, I did Dorfman versus Henschel 10 days ago, 23 whopping views, so not exactly a ton of views yet. Episode 323, and of course that was kind of a follow-up to some older ones that I did, but more recently the Stetson 313 episode about the crushable felt hats. So I wasn't trying to buy more felt hats this time. I already had a couple lying around, and hopefully I'm not losing my voice too bad all of a sudden as soon as I go to try and record a video. But so one of this, not the same thing. So this is like a canvas or a kind of a twill hat. I think it's a canvas, but like a waxed canvas to be a little water repellent that I don't need in my climate. This kind of thing, I don't typically take hiking though, because we don't have a string for the chin. The brim isn't quite wide enough. It's a nice all-around hat, a little outdoorsy, for around, but not too outdoorsy for around town, for casual stuff. You could wear this to the beach or fishing or whatever, and it'd be fine. If you're not dealing with a lot of high wind, it has the ventilation, it has the da-da-da, and it cost, I think, slightly more than these other ones. I think these ones were 65 and those ones were 54. Yeah. So the hiker breezer hat, slightly different than this one. Again, if you're on the market for felt, that's a totally different animal. I'm not going to talk about that in this video because I just did a video for a whole hour talking about some of that stuff already. And even this one. But so I do have some of the mesh ones, and I've shown these before. One of my old videos, if we go way back, or 2 of the old ones maybe, and then the safari ones, 221 and 217, and then if you go back, episode 58 with the blue version of this on the thumbnail, and the not as much episode 28. There was another one in there though, number 40, casual hats, cowboy trilby fedora. I kind of covered some of it, but this was specifically talking about boonie hats and these mesh breezer hats. So that got a decent amount of views, cumulative, 246. So not one of my worst videos ever, but that's still not that many for how long it's been since I recorded that. And the winter one before that, the cowboy hats and all that, that's only got 115 views. I thought that one was doing better than that. Oh well. Sorry, I should have said this in the last video, not this video, but here we are. And then, of course, I did boonie hats again. Only got 30 views this time, but I was more specific at chapter 136. So maybe you want to check that one out too. Anyway. So I decided that it seems like people like more brand-specific videos than these kind of general overview videos. So, okay, fine, we'll do more specific. This is not a Henschel hat, though. This is a Duluth hat, and they disavowed any knowledge of this hat and insist that they don't make them for Duluth. Fine. But this is about the widest brim that Henschel offers, is similar to this. But when I called complaining that the hiker breezer hat, the brim was wrong, the sizing was wrong, the this and the that, and so I ended up returning both of those. She kept trying to sell me one called the Safari hiker hat or Safari hat or something that has this similar kind of plastic-y overlay on the brim. And I kept insisting, I don't want that, I don't want that. And this kind of less structured brim, though, was kind of what I wanted, because those ones had a different crown where the top was kind of dented in and more firm, whereas this is, you know, smushy. I didn't want it necessarily this smushy. I call this the Gandalf hat. If you watch my other videos, you've already heard me call it, because if this was taller and pointy, this would look like Gandalf, and it's has no real structure and everything, whereas the Dorfman Pacific ones, of which I was only able to replace one of them in the khaki color, I wasn't able to get the more rigid brim in that anymore. They're not the same hat, but they were half the price. So the Henschel hats, or some of them were less anyway. And then of course I had this one, which I'm pretty sure is a Henschel hat, but does have more of the stiffer brim that I'm talking about. This one has the snap, so you could pin it up Aussie style. And I have a couple of their Aussie ones that I don't bother showing because I think they're discontinued. And I'm pretty sure this one's discontinued too. So I don't know what it was called. And it never had a tag in it that I know of. But I'm pretty sure it's Henschel because I got it from a Henschel dealing surplus store a long time ago. But also you can see it has the chin cord with the rawhide instead of the nylon string. And it has the bead instead of an adjuster. So, you know, you can kind of swap this out for something you like better, I guess, if you don't want it to just slide if you end up with this style. But for the most part, it, you know, it does the job. Although you might find the fabric ones a little more comfortable, but maybe they absorb more sweat. I don't know. The main thing with this one, of course, is it has no ventilation. So this is basically a sweat bucket once the weather gets warmer. Whereas, of course, this almost ideal for summer if you're worried about your head getting burned or something through the mesh. I don't know, wear a bandana, I guess, underneath of it or something. Some kind of head wrap, however you want to do that. But so this is kind of more what I was looking for in the brim shape. So I had this one for a while, a long time ago already. And like I said, you can see it's not that much wider than this one, but a smidge. Like it'll totally eclipse there. It won't quite eclipse there. So it's not that much wider, but it's a little bit wider, but it's still not as wide as this one. It's, again, a smidge. We're talking kind of incremental. So this brim is typically wide enough for me, and this is just a little bit under what I want, right? Again, more casual use, more outdoorsy use. So I have a whole bunch of hats that get used more than others, right? Just depending on what I'm using them for. So this ugly, horrible thing gets used a lot more than this nicer looking thing, depending on the weather. Because again, I'm in a warm climate. So either or, right? But I also want different colors for different seasons to match with different clothes more often. So that's why I had bought two of the hiker breezer, one in the green and one in the earth, or yeah, one's called distressed gold, but that's the crown. The rest is green. And the other was called earth, and it was oh no, I'm looking at, yeah. Earth was the copper colored one, I guess. Right. Anyway, but backtracking slightly, sorry. I also have this one that I've shown a bunch of times. It looks terrible now because I've worn it a whole bunch in the last couple of years. So it's all sweat, but still unbroken, no holes, no ripped seams. I moved the string out to a different hat for the summer, but I'll put it back in when I start wearing this one again. As you know, events warrant. When I need a hat that's just in terrible shape, there's kind of the original color in the brown as opposed to sun faded and stained. But so this goes with a fair amount of my junk, and this goes with a fair amount of my junk, you know, seasonally again. But this is called a Magellan brand. I don't know who stocks them regularly. I just found this one in a surplus store and grabbed it because it was $10 or whatever it was at the time. But this was the Henschel that I ordered a long time ago, and I've shown this one in the other videos. But this is more similar to the coloring pattern that the other ones were in. So it has this kind of marbled texture. They've changed it a bit. It's not the exact same look, but this copper color was the same on the one hat, except this was now copper colored. And I decided I didn't need that color anymore because I already have they're not in here, but the Outback Trading ones. I already have like 4 hats that are kind of in that color already. So I was like, okay, never mind. I'll get another green one. Because they had a color called green that, again, I thought was going to be more like this, like the Dorfman Pacific one. Spoiler alert, right? There was no photo of it. So I anticipated. And then one of them I knew was going to be the exact same thing. But she kept arguing with me and kept telling me, well, not arguing, but like contradicting me that this hat doesn't exist. Send me an email of this hat, because the way I'm describing it is nothing in their website, and she's positive they've never had anything like this. And I'm like, no, lady, this is a Henschel. I guarantee you it again, it's one of yours, and it's from whatever year, and it has this color and the same rawhide as the other one that, like I said, I got around the same time, and has this nice open crown, not the dented hard one that sits on the top of the head. And so this one in my thumbnail is the one I'm wearing in my thumbnail, not the new ones, because again, it's an unboxing, so I had to just put a picture. And this was about the only picture I had of this hat instead of the DPC ones. But on the website, all the ones that said Safari had this exact same kind of crown, or brim style, and the other crown. And so I was like, no, that's not the right hat. That's not the right hat. This hat is not that hat. And she kept saying, we don't have anything like the Duluth one. I'm like, yes, you do. I have 3 of the Duluth one, and they all look like the one in the photo that you keep telling me to look at. So finally, after sending her a couple of photos of a couple different hats and doing the exchange again for getting a less beat up looking one of this and whatnot, finally I just said, well, the one I'm going to get is the Trailblazer Hiker Breezer. And she kept insisting that's the wrong hat. The Safari hat's the one with the widest brim and the I'm like, I know, I don't care. I don't want the Safari one. I already have 3 of the Duluth one. And then for some reason the coupon would not work that they sent me, but she was able to re-enter the coupon code for me, so I got the discount again, so that was good. Okay, so I ordered olive and distressed gold. So the names of the colors are different, even though one of them is the exact same color. Figure that one out. But earth, I didn't order whatever the copper color was called that was more like the earth one, because again, I already have the other brand totally, well, not totally, but different enough style of hat that is that. So this one, the big difference is they've added a leather band. So spoiler alert, this is the olive. So when I first opened the box, which I was supposed to show the box. For those of you who are ready for the unboxing part of the journey. There's a ring and some scrappy paper, and all pretty nicely packed with the one hat on the bottom or whatever. I can't show you this side too much because it has all the address and stuff on it, but they wrote the specifications on there. Which they did on the other box too. And it came from, is this Missouri? Yeah, Missouri. So it took me not that long to get them. Your results may vary. But so the difference, again, this one, when I first opened it up, I got confused because I thought they had changed the color incorrectly. And they've also added this leather band that I probably will try and remove this and use it for something else. But they've put a string with the doohickey instead of a bead and rawhide on this particular one. I don't know if they've changed that on all of them or if that was just this one. The brim, again, is about the same as this and this. So if I put it on top, it's a little shorter than this one and a little bit shorter than this one. You can see slightly, but I can't push the hat down all the way on this crown because the crown's too big. But it's a little shorter, but again, not as wide as the other one that I threw on the floor, but wide enough. It's wider. It's wider than this by a good amount, you can see. So definitely more of a hiking hat and less of a town hat. So close enough for what I wanted. Again, the safari one having the wider brim, but how much wider? And it looks like they've curved it up a bit. I don't know if the wire will relax and lose that shape or not. But again, all of these hats that, you know, people call indie hats, even though none of them are anything like an indie hat. None of them are felt. None of them are shaped the same. But they're all called indie hats or generically called safari hats now, even though traditional safari hats have a much wider brim and a different crown shape slightly enough and blah, blah, blah. And like, again, if you're lucky, have ventilation, but a full crown instead of this. I read all this stuff before in the previous video, so if you want to hear all that, go back to the previous video. I'm not going to read all the same title cards and things, but the 50p or whatever is UFP is not accurate if you have the mesh, I guess. You lose sun protection when you have more exposed skin. Who knew? But still better than nothing. And of course, when it's really, really, really hot out, I still want the mesh. Hallmark in the headwear industry, the breathable mesh crown, adjustable chin cord, and sun protecting make this style the perfect outdoor companion. Whatever path you take, whatever mountain you climb, whatever river you cross, the breezer hat will help get you there. So, like I said, I'm not going to read the others. But it does have the dented in crown bit. There's no getting around that. That's all of them now. And again, I'll probably remove this leather. And the sweatband is green instead of black. So that's about the only difference. And the fit is not as good. Even though I've always complained about this one, that's why I was trying to buy a bigger one. Because this one kind of pinched the back of my head, but I couldn't wear it with a bandana. I wanted one that was a little bit bigger to wear with the bandana. When I tried the size large, they were just ginormous. A bandana wasn't going to solve it. So this one, I won't be able to wear it with a bandana either because it's the same problem I have with a bunch of other hats where it's too round and not quite oval enough. Like this one looks a little more oval, but it still fits kind of round. This one, kind of the same thing. So none of them are really a perfect fit. This one's a little better for that, but it's also a little too big, so it kind of sits wrong on my head. So if it gets any bigger, it's not going to fit good at all. We'll see. But, you know, that's kind of what you're dealing with when you're dealing with cotton and canvas is when you wear them a little while, they kind of relax in usually and don't give you too bad of a headache, unlike the leather band ones. Because if the leather band one is too small, it's always going to be too small, even if you can still wear them to a degree. But so yeah, so different color, different crown shape. You can see that they've, like I said, they've kept kind of the modeled look. This one is also new, and this one is more sun faded. So maybe this one looked darker when I first got it, and I just don't remember. But if you look on the inside, though, not really. I mean, you know, it hasn't faded. It hasn't faded that much compared to some of my other ones. is what I mean by not really. It's not like super faded, but again, a little better fit, but it is what it is. It's the right size, you know. So then the other one with all the stuff on it is the more correct color and with a brown leather and with the rawhide chin cord with the bead again. So again, I don't know if they're phasing these out or if that was just a fluke for this model. So again, I might take the leather off of there if I can and figure something else to do with it just to make this one look a little bit more like the old one. But again, the crown is different. The coloring is different. The crown shape and size is different. This is much more shallow. This is much more like a real hat. So they are cutting corners. They are, you know, again, this being a lower crown and then with this indentation, it really sits on your head. So that is kind of annoying, like a lot. That's why I wanted this open, because this is more structure to it than the Duluth one, but not by much that it's super uncomfortable. I don't know if you can, maybe you can just kind of smash this out with your hand and wear it that way if it's really annoying to you, and just kind of break it in to have less of that, because it is just a teardrop shape. Like I said, with some of the wires and things, they tend to spring back to where you don't want them. So if you don't like this curve up, I don't know if you could ever steam that out or if just with time. This one's even tighter than that one. And so I like the fit less. I like the shape less. I like the overall experience less. I like the new price way less. But it's the closest thing I could get to what they used to offer that at the time I thought was kind of a hat, but familiarity with it, used to wearing it, that kind of thing. Definitely like it better than these new ones, a lot. So I will not be buying these again after I wear these out. I'll be looking for something else. But by then, who knows how old I'll be, so it might not matter. Because, like I said, I got 2 of these, and I got 3 of the Dorfman ones, and I got 3 of the Duluth ones, and I got other ones that I already had, the other 2 Dorfman ones, and that Magellan one, and the Cabela's one. So I have more than enough sun hats. Like I said, I was just kind of trying to get a duplicate of this one so I wouldn't have to wear this one out, because then you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? If you don't wear it and you wear the uncomfortable one and then you're less comfortable, but then this one lasts longer and I have it after this one goes the way of the dodo, right? So kind of what I'm doing, kind of trying to, because again, I don't want all my hats that I like to all look like this by the end of this summer. I want to preserve a couple of them, whereas stuff like this is still a perfectly good chore hat, you know, but less nice if I'm, you know, going where other people might actually see me or whatever, or care how I look for a change. Yada, yada, yada. And of course the cord wants to fall down. But this one has the other sticker. Well, it's not a sticker, it's the card. Made in USA. So probably made in USA as opposed to some of the China ones. They did have, I think, different options for some of them. Authentic Breezer has been a hallmark in the headwear industry. Where was this one made? Was this also a USA? Oh, different tag on some of them. There's an under tag. Made in China. Yeah, see, some of them were made in China, some of them weren't. So I don't know what I ordered and what was what. So these, I think that's why this has the cheap string instead of the dub, but they charged me the same price. So once again, I got ripped off because the made in China hat should be less money than the USA hat, I think. Yeah, they were both $60. I'm going to have to call and ask about that, because I ordered them all off the same exact page. So why is this one costing the same as this one, or sorry, this one, when this one is the made in USA? Don't know. But again, green for spring, fine. And this for, I don't know, winter, late autumn, whenever, whenever I'm not wearing this one, right? And then yeah, no other tag in here. So back to the card. Been a hallmark in the headwear industry. The breathable mesh crown, adjustable chin cord. Yeah, we already read all this. Whatever path you take to get there. So that's the big difference is the title card, I guess. One says Made in USA, one doesn't. And this is a one that's on the other hat as well. And they have a couple different ones, like I said, that all have kind of similar names. So I had to go like around and around in circles on the website for a bit to finally figure it all out. But it was easier than when I ordered off the Amazon, and I was having a little more trouble figuring out which one was which, because that was when I first ordered the other nylon one that I sent back. I call it nylon, but they call it cotton poly twill or something. That was nothing like I thought it was going to be. That was more like those $13 Cabela's ones that I already have. So I was like, $65 for a $13 hat? No thanks. And sent that right back immediately. And then went to the Henschel website where, again, I wanted it. Because the Amazon one, it just popped up and I was like, oh, that's the hat I was looking at. Cool, I'll just get it. And then I got it. And then I was like, oh, that's the wrong hat entirely. So I wasn't like shopping at the time until I got the hat. And then a week, 3 days later or whatever. And then I was like, oh, no, this ain't going to work for what I want at all. So then I had to do a little more serious hat shopping. But of course, by the time they're getting here, we're already almost in the wrong season for these colors, but not for these style of hats, because it's still cool enough that I've been wearing the sweat bucket ones and the felt ones. But any day now, it'll be mesh. Look at me go. And on Saturday, I did wear the Gandalf all day for that adventure, which involved moderately warm temperatures and no clouds and on my feet, but not hiking per se. Anyway, okay, so that went on twice as long as it probably needed to for an unboxing, but like I said, it's not that they're terrible products, but they are cutting corners, they are raising prices. It's it's kind of annoying. It's not the exact same hat that I kind of want. The brim is a little bit floppier than the older one, but not enough that it's going to affect overall wear. I don't think it's going to be like sagging down the way the again, this stuff just really, the consistency or whatever, the rigidity, it just isn't there. But again, if you want the wider brim, then that one's for you, the Safari Breezer or whatever they call it. So as always, I activated the Buy Me a Coffee or Pizza, if you prefer, application, and of course, Boycott Tinder. I just did a long video about that, and I'll probably do another one in a couple days here. Matt Walsh just did a long video about that. Well, nowhere near as long as mine, but 20-something minutes. But only like the first 10 minutes is necessary total. But he lays out how the consumer fraud aspect of the business is, whereas I talk more about the employee toxic culture and the type of people that they employ who possibly cannot have your romantic interests at heart in their agenda or whatever. They're getting a paycheck and they're cashing it and they're laughing all the way to the bank at your expense, period. And that goes more or less from the bottom all the way up as far as we can tell now. So if you're a class action lawyer, you can look more into that and watch his video. But if you're just an interested party, watch mine. And if you're looking for romance, probably look anywhere else than a Match.com or competitors' subsidiaries. And so again, with that, I don't know, did I show enough of the hat? I try to show like the profile. I can't see what I look like because of the camera, but there's the profile before I sign off. And the other one, the profile, and the front. And of course, to show from the back, there's a seam. I mean, nothing to see here, folks. You know, like I said, I might try to remove this leather. The old one, not any more attractive. Same kind of rear end scenario. You know, they're not like super fine finished thing or whatever. They're just, you know, functional, mostly comfortable. Like I said, yeah, I really don't like the fit of this one very much, but I don't like the fit of this one as much as I thought I did either. This one actually, this one's yeah, I could almost wear a bandana with this one maybe. So I think I actually do like the fit of this one a little bit more going forward. But when I first put this one on, I thought it was okay. But now that I'm putting this one back on, it's looser, which, you know, sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. You know, it's all subjective. It's whichever one I get used to first. Then the other one will always feel wrong. Again, this one felt wrong when I first got it too, and now these ones both feel horrible. So take it with a grain of salt, right? Oh, and stream. Okay, thank you. Come again.